Hello, welcome to Skinny Podcast. Today with us is Branko Teodorovic. Branko, welcome to the show. Over the last 7 to 10 days, we received a lot of questions from the viewers, and we browsed a couple of them that we're going to actually address today. So, Branko, please go over the list and see what you want to ask.
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, thank you for having me again here on the podcast. Just like Sasha said, we had quite a few questions that we received from you, and among the most interesting and the ones that we will have the time to address today, we selected a few. So let me start with probably the most important question that will kind of lead us into a further conversation. Sasha, let me ask you, can you talk about health benefits of dark chocolate? Since it's the base of the product, so let's get into health benefits first.
Health benefits of pure dark chocolate are well documented. In our research, what we discovered that the dark chocolate, and when I say dark chocolate, it's a chocolate that has a 70% cocoa content. And I can explain later why we don't really work with chocolate that is 85 or 90%. We work only with a 70% dark chocolate. That health benefits are really, really numerous. The list of health benefits of 70% dark chocolate is long, that I personally, when I start reading about this, I thought this was just too much. Dark chocolate helps with cholesterol, with heart health, with brain functioning, with sugar levels in the blood, with quality of the skin, quality of the hair, helps fighting anxiety. Appropriately applied with some other products like we have in Skinny Chocolate, it suppresses the sugar cravings and also helps control the appetite and helps with weight management.
So then it's more than safe to say that we're talking about a superfood.
Yes, I was really, as I said, in disbelief when I start seeing all this, especially when it was talking about cholesterol, heart health, brain health, improves brain functioning, improves the memory. But the chocolate, dark chocolate, is the only food that can claim all these benefits. And what is really, really magnificent about dark chocolate, it claims all these benefits in very small quantities. Oh, I also forgot. It's also full of antioxidants, bioflavonoids, probiotics, and it has traces of minerals and some traces of protein.
So let me just ask you something now that personally I would like to know, and I think a lot of our viewers, can you tell us where it went wrong? So if you had such a superfood at the start to work with, how did we deviate in things of what we call chocolate and candy today? Can you just briefly elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's all about cost. It's all about cost and mass production. Something that is so pure in its raw form, people either try to bank on it, trying to charge top dollar, or most of the producers go into the opposite direction. They're putting traces of what's good in the product. Like, it's safe for me to say, and I can back this up, majority of the products that are labeled as chocolate today have nothing to do with chocolate. Mm-hmm. Because I think on average, on a 3.5 ounces package of what is labeled as dark chocolate, in reality you have hardly an ounce of chocolate. You have everything else except the chocolate. So my advice to the customers is always look at the price. In United States, retail stores take approximately 50 to 60% of the wholesale price. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if something is sold for $10, the manufacturer of that product is getting maximum $4. And now just figure out for yourself if what you're holding in your hand is worth $4 and what you can expect to get for $4.
Yeah, but what if something is $1? Exactly, backs up
Listen,
your point.
I don't want to name some
how much was invested and
I
how
don't
much
want to
value
name
really,
some very
it really
popular
has into it.
products that we grew up with. One is a famous hazelnut spread, and then they have a spin-off with something that they call truffles. I see them in the supermarkets, 24 pieces selling for like less than $10. Now, knowing that it's coming packaged to you, shipped to you, you had to pay the manufacturing facilities, insurances, and everything. Something has to give up, and that's the quality of the product.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's pretty easy. And I think people who are also opting to buy products below their fair market value they know what they're doing. That's basically how I see it. So the main thing to point the finger to is production cost, and the final cost of the product. So,
and can we add food addiction that we're going to touch on a little bit later?
Yeah, we can talk about it, but dark chocolate alone cannot address that. Question that came for you is saying, what is the difference if I'm eating for looks or if I'm eating for health?
Well, that's a great question, and that's something that I have been talking about a lot during my career, because we have, as people, most of us have misperception between eating healthy and ultimately if we're eating healthy, that will get us to a certain look. So a lot of people have this belief that 2 and 2 go together. Well, in whole reality, 2 cannot be further apart. And what do I mean by that? Let's take, for example, apple. 1 apple a day scares the doctor, takes the doctor away, keeps the doctor away.
Keeps the doctor away.
Right? Very true. However, look at the sugar content in an apple. Okay? So yes, we're getting all the health benefits of an apple, but what do we do with the extra sugar? Yeah, it is in the form of fructose, but our body is not very smart, and it's going to do with it the same as it does with every other sugar. In other words, we don't have absolutely no use of it. So basically, if you want to look at it this way, more we go towards health, we kind of back off from looks, if that makes sense. And more we go towards looks, towards what I do professionally for a living, we back off from health. And any professional athlete in my sport will tell you the same thing. A lot of things, a lot of parts of our diet are great as a cornerstone of someone's diet, but not to the extreme where we go to.
So basically you want to say that an average person like me, for instance, can use your diet, but not to the extreme that you are doing it.
Absolutely.
You have 8 meals a day.
I would strongly suggest using a skeleton of my diet, using some premises of my diet.
Makes sense.
To build yours for your needs and for your wants, but not to get to the extreme. Okay? So basically what we are proposing and suggesting and advising our clients to do is find a sweet spot between the two. So if you look at it,
balance it.
Yes, it's a balance point between where you're satisfying your looks and also taking care of your health.
I know, you told me that you're eating in excess of 6,000 calories a day.
Yes, so I have to eat, when I'm training, I have to eat a minimum of 4,000 calories just to not lose any weight, because I'm about 242 pounds when I'm training. So it takes, I mean, how much do you
my
think?
diet is 2,000 calories a day.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I'm trying to gain something, put more muscle mass on me, it has to be in the excess, of course.
So basically, conclusion would be that eating for looks and the health has to be balanced based on the person's goals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But
they're not far apart.
But again, the reason why we take supplements in the forms of vitamins, fish oils, minerals, and everything else is because we're trying to eat only nutrients that are giving us a purpose. So we're giving up so much. For example, we're giving up fruit. We're giving up quite a bit of vegetables. And for that reason, we have to take vitamins in a form of supplementation, just because we don't have enough of that in our nutrition. Okay, so one thing that I saw on the list of questions that I really wanted to ask you reads, is it true that eating too much chocolate can cause death? So I'm gonna defer this one completely to you.
Believe it or not, we received the same question on Quora.com about a year and a half ago, and once when we posted the answer, this answer had close to 30,000 reads in less than a month. So we were thinking, where could this question come from? And the only thing that is coming to my mind, it's a known fact for the dog owners that dogs cannot eat dark chocolate. That is very dangerous for them, and they can actually die from very small quantities of dark chocolate.
Yeah, we understand that, but for human consumption?
Probably people not doing their research properly, drawing very shallow conclusions. We're thinking, if my dog is 15 pounds and he eats 2 bites of chocolate and then dies, if I'm 200 pounds, that means if I eat a pound of chocolate, most likely I will die.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense.
I did a thorough research on this subject, and basically, hypothetically, yes, you could die from overeating dark chocolate under several conditions. First condition, an average person would have to consume around 20 pounds of chocolate. And the second condition would be that 20 pounds of chocolate has to be consumed in a short period of time. What is good with dark chocolate is once when you consume too much of the product, and we are talking maybe a pound, that product will go out one way or another. You will not be able to stuff yourself anymore because you just can't. It will not stay in your body. It will not stay in your body long enough to cause any damage.
Is it because of the concentration?
Because of the concentration and because of the product itself. So basically, let's say it has like a safety pin, that if you're trying to kill yourself by eating too much of dark chocolate, you will not succeed. Although I heard of the cases that people died from drinking too much water. So my conclusion when we were answering this question for Quora readers was, if you're trying to commit suicide, better drink water than trying the dark chocolate, because it's not going to happen. Dark chocolate will go out way before you can stuff yourself one way or another, meaning you will either vomit or get diarrhea. Let me ask
Interesting.
you. Yeah, so you're safe. Oh, this is something that... Why is eating healthy so difficult?
Oh, wow. You want me to take on that one?
Yes, that's your forte.
My forte. Okay, well, great. Well, I think we spoke in our last episode about food addiction, and that's where the root of this problem is. I strongly believe in that. Basically, the reason is healthy food that I eat, is just not tasty. I mean, what do I really have to use while cooking it? Some salt and pepper, maybe adding some sugar-free ketchup occasionally or something as a condiment, right? But in its basics, it's just not tasty. And as children, since we have been brought up, we have learned to eat with taste. So if we have been raised to eat with taste, once we try to implement any type of healthy diet, we run into a problem that it simply does not taste good enough. It's too dry. It doesn't give us any type of instant gratification after we eat it. I mean, let's face it, if we eat 5 bites of chicken with some salt and pepper on it, nothing. If we eat 3 bites of pizza, it gives us that instant gratification.
Yeah, but then you have to choose for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want flavor in your mouth, or
yes,
you want to be able to look at the mirror?
Absolutely. So what I'm trying to say, to tell you is, it's exactly that. But let's face it, quite a few people do not have that inner strength to make that determination. And that's why they chose the easy way, what tastes better and what's going to instantly gratify us and makes us happier. Make sense?
I wouldn't agree that everyday food tastes better. It's just a matter of habit until you get off it.
And that's exactly where I was going. So for that reason, and it's something you and I touched upon in previous episodes, it is not about a diet. It is not about for someone who for 40 or 50 years ate whatever they wanted to eat, and then all of a sudden they're going to give up everything. It's about slowly changing, and I emphasize this, I said this so many times before, it's about slowly changing the lifestyle, implementing small changes when it's not going to be such a drastic difference between eating whatever you wanted, full of flavor, full of sodium, and full of everything else, and all of a sudden eating something
full of sugar.
Full of sugar, yeah, absolutely, among other things. And now all of a sudden eating something that is healthy and tastes completely different. So instead of a shock to the body, let's start implementing small changes, and then that switch, it's not going to be as drastic, and it's going to be so much easier to continue implementing as long as we're alive.
Yeah, but I switched my food about 7-8 years ago. Nothing forced me. I was never overweight. Simply I started understanding how the food works in the body, how it affects my look, my mood, my sleep,
well,
my well-being.
Unfortunately, I would have to say that there's not a lot of people who are able to make this distinction and this decision on their own. A lot of people seek professional help, and that's perfectly fine. So I'm just saying, for those who cannot make that choice, who are just not simply strong enough on the inside to make that type of a choice and stick with it, I suggest small changes that will lead into a lifestyle change versus...
You see, in my view, you actually have to be much stronger to continue with your average or unhealthy lifestyle, because the health consequences and mental consequences, when I say mental, meaning not being happy the way you look, are much harder to bear on a daily basis than giving up on salt, sugar, and artificial flavors. To me, that is much easier to give up.
Again, maybe to you, I'm just telling you out of my experience.
No, I see resistance also with skinny chocolate.
There's absolutely a lot of resistance, which leads us, and I think this is a perfect place to transition into our next question that I would like to ask you. Mm-hmm. How does the skinny chocolate help this problem, and how does it help a person reach their goal?
But we touched this subject in our last podcast, so now we'll go into a little more details.
Please do.
I mentioned in the previous podcast the glycemic index. Each time we eat, our glycemic index rises in the blood.
Well, depending what we eat.
Of course. I'm talking about everyday food.
Everyday food, okay.
Everyday food. Because everyday food, I compare to the stacked deck of cards, actually it's made to increase your glycemic index and to have you constantly, I can say, hooked on munching. And the more you munch, the more you need to eat. The hungrier you get, then it starts with depression.
And vicious circle.
Vicious circle goes on. Skinny chocolate actually cuts in the middle of the issue. Mm-hmm. First of all, we advise our clients to slowly adjust their diet, to start cutting unnecessary sugar, and skinny chocolate help them while they're fighting in sugar cravings. And also, our products are created to assist with digestion. So once when you had a meal, like lunch or dinner, you take only one piece of skinny chocolate that has only 1/3 of an ounce with 2 grams of sugar. It's specially designed to blend.
And while you're talking, I'm just going to visually show what we're talking about. So you're talking about, Sasha, about one piece,
yes, that's it.
1/3 of an ounce here for the camera.
You take this after the meal, lunch or dinner. We do not advise clients to take this after breakfast, because breakfast is the meal when you need to charge up. Mm-hmm. And then simply the chocolate quickly melts in your stomach, extracting what you need from the meal, pushing the rest out, and cutting the glycemic index quickly so you don't need to continue munching. As every addiction, because I mentioned in our last podcast that we treat weight gain or lack of sleep, or anxiety, or depression, anything that is food related, we treat it as a food addiction, and we are treating the core, not the consequences.
Yeah,
the consequences is a weight gain, depression, not being happy with the way you look. So skinny chocolate is addressing right at the center of the issue, which is the food itself. And it has a proven record. We've been doing this for close to 3 years. We have a lot of clients who can tell us their stories, how they managed and achieved their goals, and now how they're maintaining their goals. But that's the most important thing to understand. It takes about 2 weeks to slowly change your lifestyle, change your diet, and after that, it's like quit smoking. People just don't believe how could they live like that before.
How could I have smoked in the first place? Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the same thing. And we have one last question for today that came for you, actually.
Okay, go ahead.
People who are trying or thinking to try and start skinny program are asking you how often they can cheat.
Okay. Well, great
how
question.
Often they could have a cheat day.
I completely understand. And I think the big misconception about a cheat day, it doesn't necessarily have to be a cheat day. It could be eating something we really like, but putting those nutrients to use. So, for example, I don't eat anything that I don't have use out of. So if I'm going to have a cheat day, I'm going to have a meal that I really like, that it's probably really high in carbohydrates, because I can replenish my depleted glycogen storages in my muscles, and then I can use that in my next workout. So for example, it's a strategy called back carb loading. If we eat large sum of carbohydrates at night, and then early in the morning we go and use that glycogen, and I usually like to use it with most important or the biggest muscle group. So for example, I like to eat on Saturday night, so Sunday early in the morning I can go and do leg training. So first of all, if we don't start seeing it as a cheat day, but more strategically, more like a strategic meal, we can position it exactly where we can use the most out of what
How
we just
often?
did. So
on a weekly basis.
On a weekly basis, I think at the beginning, that number could be 2, maybe Wednesday, Saturday split. And then later on, to be honest with you, most of the year I have 1, and that's usually that Friday, Saturday night, when maybe I can go out with my friends, have meal that I want. But again, it's going to be gauged based on to have as much possible of what I can actually use tomorrow morning into the workout. So 1 to 2 is perfectly safe, and let me tell you why. Let's say that our average client is going to eat 5 times a week. Okay, is that safe to say? Times 7, 35 meals a week. What's 1 meal out of 35? That's what, 3%? So imagine this. 97% of your meals are clean, 3% are cheat, or whatever you want to call it. Does that really make a difference?
Statistical error.
Yeah, exactly. But let's reverse that the other way. Let's say 97% of your meals are dirty and bad, everyday, processed, and everything we talk about today, 3% were clean. Would that make any difference? No, it wouldn't make a ding. So my message is, it is perfectly fine. And when you're out, go ahead and enjoy. Again, on a menu, try to find something that you can use versus complete garbage that you can use for anything.
Yes.
And that way, you will replenish your glycogen storage. You will have energy for that big workout in the morning. If it doesn't have to be a workout, maybe it's a hike, maybe it's a bike ride, or whatever it is.
Tennis game.
And that way, you will have what you really like. You will be able to use it, and it will prime you for the next day when you continue with your normal diet plan.
Okay. Thank you. That would be all for today. Talk to you again next week.
Thank you.